This Kansas to NASCAR 2024 weekend betting recap edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% off deposit, 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
We are not in Kansas anymore. We are recapping Kansas. I don't know. Anyways, it's the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Yes, we just wrapped up a weekend in Kansas. A profitable weekend, Cody, for a lot of people in Kansas.
Speaking of which, Rod, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. What? Look at this, man. The 71. Look at you.
Oh.
Look at you. If you're not
watching,
watching,
I had
YouTube,
this old 7 hat I had to make good use of, so turned it into a nice 71. Let's fucking go, Zane Smith. How about that, Rod?
Oof, boy, that was a sweat and a half, wasn't it?
Whew, man, that's yeah, that was a bigger sweat than Ty Majeski running out of fuel on Friday night. And that was a pretty big sweat in and of itself.
But let me tell you right now, even if you can't gamble, like even if you're in a state where you can't gamble, just picking a side and running with it, you should probably just listen to the show if you can't gamble, just to pick sides, to have more to pay attention to in the race. Because Cody, we were all over the board following just lines and drivers and everything just going left and right. It was a very, very eventful weekend for us.
Yeah, it was. And we had 3 great races. You know, everybody was upset about Bristol last week, and this car and this track once again answered the questions of, like, this is good on intermediates. Get rid of the Roval, bring back Charlotte in the play. Like, what? Like, stop wasting. Kentucky's sitting out there, Chicagoland. What are we doing, Rod? We have a perfect car for intermediate tracks. Put more on the schedule before it changes and it's too late. Anyways, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But yeah, the whole weekend delivered in Kansas. It's been one of the best tracks. I've been going to races there since it opened in 2001. It's a great facility, always has been, but its current state of worn outness and the way that just the weather in the Midwest has torn that track up is absolutely glorious and made for great racing in all 3 series this weekend. So yeah, we had good weekend in betting. Actually really across all 3 series had pretty good days. And then yeah, it was good on track product as well. And kept you guessing until the last lap on really all 3 races, which is what you want after 462 laps led by Kyle Larson last week in Bristol.
I mean, it really did too. It kept you guessing for everything. Who was going to win, who was going to finish top 10, who's not going to finish top 10. Yeah, I mean, look, there was a ton to pay attention to, and definitely we'll get into all of that. Let's say first hello to Andrew. Andrew checking in.
Hello, our buddy Shandy from over in the Discord. Welcome. Thanks for joining us live. We appreciate it.
And of course, keeping that Discord hopping, boy. Him and the JDK and Nico, all those guys over there keeping that Discord popping right now. So we see you. Speaking of poppin', SGPN has the most DGen pregame shows in the world. Saturday, the College Experience YouTube is live. They start at 11 Eastern. For the NFL, the Propcast kicks off at 11 a.m. Sunday, followed by SGP at noon East. Last second bets, DGen parlays, your calls, and more. This network just keeps getting better and better and better every day. And speaking of which, shout out to our buddies, man, putting stickers on Kansas Speedway finish lines. Oh,
Yeah.
that was so cool.
Did you saw the Ross Chastain picture where you can see clearly as he's celebrating the sticker there. So shout out to John Little for that. That was pretty cool. To have the sticker up there and got to tell your friends about the show and keep it rolling. So we always appreciate that and pretty cool to see.
Although I want to know if it made it into the bathroom stall. That's the high traffic area that I want, And you know what? From now on,
that's probably the best place to put it. I mean, everybody's going in there.
When we make our next set of stickers, Cody, we're gonna put the
QR code. Yeah, we definitely need to need that on the next set of stickers. That way you can just scan. We got the cards now that have those, which is pretty neat. And we need that on the stickers. So just pull your phone up while you're peeing there and scan it and start listening to the show.
I can't think of a better way to market the show than to have it sitting right there in front of you. So, I mean, I would say put it in the urinal so people are staring at it the whole time, but I don't know how well that would actually work out. So we'll just go with our first plan and just stick it right in front of us.
I think that's the better idea, Rod.
Probably is too. Speaking of JDK, pops in. JDK,
heard you talking about him, so he jumped in. Rod, we have got some news actually. I know it's been a little slow news-wise the last couple of weeks here, but we had a few things happen over the weekend. If you want to talk about those quick.
Of course I do. What do we got going?
Well, Rod, hashtag chasing trophies.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag, and that is your goal. Who better to sign than Ty Dillon? He is going to be full-time in the Cup Series next year. They are going to drop the number 31 number at Colleague. He'll be replacing Daniel Hemrick. And they will change that to the number 10. Of course, the 10 is going away with SHR getting rid of that. Ty Dillon will be in the number 10 car next season for Colleague, replacing Hemrick. So it'll be Ty Dillon in the 10 and then AJ in the 16. Those will match up their, at least two of their three Xfinity Series numbers. So interesting there. I mean, not really a shocker. We sort of, originally, it sounded like Ty Dillon might have been full-time this year, but they couldn't get the funding worked out, whatever the case. But seems like that's gotten worked out now. And, so it'll be him and AJ in their cars full-time. Again, when you use a hashtag, you should probably at least try and somewhat represent the hashtag. I mean, I don't know. To be like, what trophies are you really chasing with? And that,
participation trophies.
Ty Dillon's a great dude. I've met him before. He used to drive the Twisted Tea car. I have affiliations with that, and I got to meet the guy. Great dude, really awesome guy. He had a podcast for a short time that was great, all that. But you're not chasing any trophies by putting him in that car. So interesting move. But again, we always known that they're about the money, and that's the way they went.
Yeah, this is not something that I guess if we're going to start talking about maybe top 10 long shot, top 10s, if he starts parking it in the top 10, then maybe we start talking about it. It's a Colleague car. It's not complete garbage. AJ can still get it done every once in a while.
Well,
so
the AJ part of things, yeah.
Maybe on a road course, but we'll see.
Not the Ty Dillon part of things. But
JDK says he's easily the best driver out there.
It'll be interesting to see what Hemrick does. He's got a lot of funding behind him. We saw him full time. He won the championship in Xfinity with JGR. He was Sheldon Creed before Sheldon Creed was Sheldon Creed, literally finishing second place every week. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe he gets some type of deal worked out to go back there. I feel like he might have been with JRM before that. I can't remember. But see where he lands on his feet will be interesting. Of course, the Rick Ware cars aren't fully announced what they're going to do. Shout out to Corey LaJoy getting a top 5 in his first start, Rod. 7 car spins again. Maybe it's a 7-car issue. Who knows? But the one other piece of news, well, it's sort of 2 other pieces of news, I guess. Noah Gragson was asked by people during a autograph signing this weekend what number he's going to be driving next year. And he said he was told the number 4. So, of course, we know he's going to go to the Front Row Motorsports, be the 3rd driver over there. They have acquired or are acquiring one of the SHR orders. And I believe SHR is going to keep the 41. Is that what Custer's?
Yeah, Custer's driving the 41.
The 41, yeah. So that's the one number they're keeping. So obviously 10 goes back in the pool. That's why Colleague's going to take that. And so it sounds like Front Row will probably take the 4 number, and you'll have Noah Gragson in that. So we already knew that ride, of course, but just interesting on the number part of things.
Wouldn't it have made more sense for SHR to go after the 10 to keep Gragson in the I feel like that GIF with all of the little numbers floating in front of me where it feels like it's just
I mean, yeah, who knows? Whatever. It don't have to make any sense, Rod. It is what it is. The one other thing, NASCAR and production company Words Plus Pictures announced the 2nd season of the Netflix series Full Speed. The companies have formed a production partnership, Full Speed Entertainment, to develop various racing content, which sounds good. But that playoff show for Netflix will be back again this season. Of course, they've already been filming that throughout the playoffs here, but deal officially announced, so we'll get that show once again.
Cool. Any chance we get to have these other shows, the F1 show we talk about too, and then IndyCar, they're starting to come out with their own. So, I mean, this is par for the course, and we get to see a little extra.
Get to see, a little more in depth into look into some of these drivers, and you get the great clips like Christopher Bell saying, that nobody expected me to be here, and NASCAR was tweeting out again the meme this weekend of it's Marty Smith saying he's a 5th generation watermelon farmer when Ross wins. So, it was a good series and excited for it to be back.
Indeed. All right. Well, then I feel like we're good and thoroughly. Oh, by the way, too, shout out to Zane Smith's wife too for liking our tweet. That was
shout out McCall. We see you. We see you there liking our tweet. Hey, she's biggest cheerleader of her husband, right? And he still doesn't have a fucking ride for next year. Again, things that don't make sense sometimes, Rod. That is one of them. We'll talk more about Zane here in a bit, but yeah, shout out to her. She's checking his mentions for sure.
Speaking of behind the scenes, speaking of the people behind the scenes, definitely one of them. So, all right, we will start talking about Kansas because that is what we are here to do. But first, let me tell you about our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all of sports. There's NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, WNBA, NASCAR, F1, and more. Lobby's jam-packed with profit boosts, and you can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. Hey, listen, if you're listening live or if you're catching this within the, hour or two before the football games that are on tonight on Monday Night Football, they are giving you a Tyreek Hill half yard total yards. Obviously, you take the higher on that one, right? So if Tyreek gains 1 yard, you get this pick, and then you get to parlay or you get to put that together with one of my favorite ones, Calvin Ridley, half a touchdown receiving or rushing, because he's done both. You definitely take the higher end of that. 2.07x multiplier on that one. You get to keep picking on top of that if you want, but just those two alone will get you 6.21 times your money. You might want to jump in and get that done soon because that Tyreek Hill one is absolutely fire. Sign up today with our promo code RACESGPN. You are going to claim a special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN.
Yeah, I think I would lean higher side of Tyreek Hill half yard. I mean, it's a big number for him, but I think he can get it done, Rod. Also, Tyler Huntley, 32.5 rushing yards. Higher than my friends. You're welcome. Thank me later.
Indeed. Not really good for me on the underdog picks this week.
Rod, we need to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not. We're not. We're gonna.
Ty Majeski, that was a good pick.
That was a fantastic pick, but there's other ones that sort of fell by the wayside, especially the two that I gave out on my video. Daniel Suarez, I gave out worse than 14.5. He finishes 13th. Ty Gibbs, I give worse than 6.5. He finishes 5th.
I tried to tell you about that one, Ron, but
oh no, I will not. No. Okay, fine. Let's just go through and talk about the cup. Congratulations, Ross Chastain, for winning.
Yeah,
and not even being in the playoffs.
Hey, I mean, good for him. Good for that team, right? That's one of the cool things about NASCAR is, the NFL playoffs. All these other teams aren't playing, right? But in NASCAR, you still get that chance to play, and we've seen in the Truck Series multiple times. Lane Rigg, Lane Riggs, rather, not Rig. Lane Riggs wins the first 2 races of the Truck Series playoffs, get to play that spoiler. Say William Byron wins that race, and then suddenly he's the one who finishes second. Suddenly he's locked in, and he's got a 34-point cushion going into Talladega, but it's going into Talladega. That doesn't mean you're safe by any means. Now he's got to worry the next 2 weeks, whereas had he won that race, then he's locked in for the next 2 races and already focused on the round of 8. So really could change things a lot. And big spoiler there from Ross Chastain. So shout out to him. It was an interesting day on the Cup Series side of things. We sort of saw it going one way, and I think we're going to ban the word chalk from the show, Rod. We're not going to talk about that anymore because every time we bring it up, that's not what happens, and that's not what happened this weekend again by any means.
Or maybe we handicap it as chalk, but we pick differently. Like we say, oh, this is going to be a chalk.
Oh, it's going to be chalk, and then we give out non-chalk picks, like Zane Smith top 10 at 16-1,
100%.
and then and then it goes our way. So I guess you gotta like that.
So the name of this game, though, too, was strategy, cautions, and fast cars. I mean, that all 3 of these put together made this race a very interesting race because we didn't know what strategy somebody was going to be on. And then were the fast cars going to make up for the strategy calls? Cautions falling at weird times. There was 10 cautions for 47 laps in this race. A margin of victory of 0.388, believe it or not. That's I don't remember it being that close, but apparently it was that close in this race. But
William ran him down at the end. I mean, if he'd had 5 more laps, might have got him. I mean, honestly, he was kind of coming there at the end. Almost looked like you were going to get that Carl Edwards move where he slides him down into the corner and puts it up on the wall, and Jimmy still gets the victory. But yeah, it ended up being pretty close at the end there.
Yeah, it was a good race altogether, though, again, because of all the things going on, all the different strategies. Would a caution break that strategy up? And we saw Christopher Bell lead 122 laps. We thought Christopher Bell was going to be the most dominant car of the day. I'm sorry. Christopher Bell was the second one I gave in the video. I said 6.5 for him. He finished 7th. So that was the tough call. But,
dude, Christopher Bell pissed away so many points. If he misses the next round of the playoffs, Kansas is the reason. I mean, as good of a car as he had, both stages at the end of the stages just kind of fucked it up. So somebody who didn't fuck things up, Rod, Martin Truex Jr. Talk about a bad beat on this one. I had Ryan Blaney over Truex. Truex finishes in 3rd place, his first top 5 in 18 races since he was at Kansas last. I guess he's got a thing for Kansas. Ryan Blaney finishes in 4th place, 1 spot behind him. That was plus money at plus 112. So sucked to be on the other side of that. And then I had Chris Buescher as well at plus 120 over him. Buescher 11th, never really had a chance. After seeing Majeski on Friday night run out of fuel coming to the white flag, then Kyle Busch spinning from the lead, you think you're like, oh yeah, it's coming for Truex, right? Like I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop on Truex, like it's gonna happen, and it didn't happen. So shout out to him for getting it done. I saw him over at Cabela's. So somebody posted a picture of him at Cabela's signing autographs. I was like, look at that, he's already working on his fishing. So must have got his fishing in before the race and decided to show up for this whole one. So this was the numbers all said, and then we sort of talked about that on the DFS episode, right? The numbers all said he was going to have a good run and he was going to have a good finish. We were fading the recency and the momentum he didn't have. And for once, things just didn't go wrong, right? It wasn't necessarily that things went right. They just, because they've had fast cars and they've performed well until this or until that or whatever. And just things finally didn't go against them. And so he ended up finishing out with a 3rd place finish. So not mad at fading him because I think it was the right call after 18 races in a row of him continually proving to us why we should be fading him. Gets it done. I think there's probably going to be more opportunities to fade him, and it's probably going to be at Talladega this week. So good chance we'll end up fading him there. But that's how it goes sometimes.
And nobody would have been surprised had he not finished in the top 10, in the top 5. It would just nobody would have been surprised. So the fact that we took this wasn't like a big, oh my God, how can you do that? Well, because you could. And if he would have ended up finishing worse than these guys, then you would have been like, yeah, that's par for the course lately. And you can't...
Blaney didn't have that fucking loose wheel too. Like Blaney probably would have ended up beating him. Although Truex was running top 5 all day. It's not like it wasn't a fluke for him to be there at the end, but Blaney definitely had a little bit of a car there, and had he not had that deal and had to come back from that, probably would have been ahead of Truex, and that would have softened the blow, not losing both of these. Unfortunately, I got invested in a few more head-to-heads on race day. So luckily Zane Smith saved me from that hurting a lot more than it did, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
I will remember you. Will you remember me?
Rod, remember when we had this conversation and I said that you should give out something that had a chance of hitting?
Nope. I don't remember any of that. Clearly I'm delirious. You guys knew it. And I even said it myself. Like, honestly, this was either going to hit or it wasn't. And this is more of just me hoping among hope that Jimmy Johnson figured out how to actually finish a race. Jimmy Johnson cannot figure out. I mean, he finished.
Well, he just can't. I mean,
down.
It's one of those deals where you with the squirrels are going to get your nuts cracked, Rod.
That's what I'm saying. This was not his fault. This was.
And how many times has that happened to him since he's been running these part-time races? I mean, I can think of 2, 3, 4 races where he had like that road course. Was that Coda last year? I think. I don't even think he completed. The second turn, and he was already done for the day. Like, just it's tough when you're running back there. And then look, Legacy is not any good right now. I mean, their best finish was 30th with John Hunter. And Eric Jones finished 35th, and Jimmy was 36th. So, it's all bad for them right now, and it's so sad to see the absolute legend, and like we know him for being the most dominant driver, and just 5 years in a row they couldn't stop him, and they kept changing the playoff format, and he was just winning, and they nothing they could do would stop him, and now he just looks like, I mean, you look at the odds every week, and his name is right next to Kaz Grall, and it's just like, Jimmy, oh man.
So I'm a little disappointed that, I mean, even still, like I saw his car once after that, and that was as the leaders were passing him, and he was moving way over to. I didn't even get to see my favorite race car driver in the world.
Well, there's nothing to see, Rob.
I know, but at least I want to see the car. Like, and I apologize for everybody. I thought Jimmy was still in the 48. So that's my
well. On that note, Rod, the 48 car finished inside the top 10. Alex Bowman plus 160. We did hit this one. Look, this was just. I don't even know why they gave us this at this number. And after we recorded the show, after we talked about it, I was looking at it more. I was working on my article for sportsgamblingpodcast.com, and I reiterated in that article, like, we continue to sort of find gifts that the books are giving us on a week-to-week basis, where it's just like, this guy should not be this big of a number for a top 10. And Bowman was that guy this week. It made no sense. And yeah, JDK says lock bet of the week. I mean, this was cashing throughout the day. He was top 10 in stage 1, slipped back a little bit there in stage 2. But that was, or no, he actually won stage 2 rather. And that was even with them staying out. So he ended up, staying out for the playoff points, which again puts himself in a great position as far as the playoff points go. I guess he's only 8 to the good, but still earning all those playoff points, made sure he is 8 to the good. So good on him. And he just has had a great string of success here at Kansas. His hot playoff run continues to go. And so, yeah, this was a great bet at plus 160. Man, 23-11, Rod. I thought Bubba Wallace top 10 and plus 120. It made too much sense for as good as he's been at Kansas. And we didn't see it in the spring from 23-11, but they're going to be fine, right? Like, they're going to have to figure it out. They've been so good on this track for a while. I mean, it wasn't just Bubba. Tyler didn't have it either, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but this car never had any shot at a top 10. You never really saw Bubba anywhere in the mix, and it was heartbreaking because this was like the big chance for 23-11, and this is where they should be good, and just nowhere to be found. So unfortunate there. Luckily, the Bowman one cashes, so that takes the sting off of it. But yeah, Bubba Wallace top 10, unfortunately not there. John checking in.
Our hero.
We talked about you a little bit earlier in the show, so make sure you go back and listen to that. But Shout out to you for putting the stickers up at the track. We really appreciate that. Pretty cool thing. So hope you had a good time. Oh, I gotta make the spring race, Rod. I didn't make it to either Kansas race this year. First time in a while not making it to one, and I hate not being there. So hoping to be back there in the spring and be able to meet John and some of these other people that go to the track. Because a lot of listeners go to the Kansas race. So pretty awesome. And hopefully we'll have our own little tweet up next year there, Rod.
I'll need to make sure that I get my tickets ready for the Kansas race out there.
There you go.
Fantastic. Too much fun to be had. Plane tickets. Yeah. All right. This one, easy. Ross Chastain, top 10, plus 140. I remember telling you, I don't know how this is at plus 140. I remember telling you that Ross Chastain, sneaky good, going to at least be a top 10 car. Well, guess what? I should have ridden the car lift with Ross Chastain because he finishes obviously in first place. Once he got on the correct strategy, was the car to beat. And, I get that it was getting hard to pass at the end, but it was hard to pass the whole time. And not just hard to pass, hard to cleanly pass. Like, you could make passes, but you had to work at it. And Ross Chastain was working at it, especially at the end. Some of these restarts as well. JDK saying plus 240 after qualifying too. Again, because Ross Chastain, we knew he started 20th. And we knew that no matter where he started, he would be able to work his way in and around the top 10. Again, just 52 laps that he led. Great strategy calls all around for that one team. It was all in place for him. He's that kind of a driver that if you give him a shot, he's going to win that race. And he ended up doing it. Held off William Byron, held off tires, held off gas, held off everything, right? Because I think Ross Chastain actually had pitted later or before William Byron. I think William Byron had a couple of fresher lap tires on his car and he was running them down. But Ross Chastain, even after the last few restarts that caught it, he led those last 20 laps. The last green flag cycle, 21 laps, and just did a masterful job of keeping himself in front. So never in doubt for a top 10. I wish that I'd have been a little more convinced that Ross Chastain was going to win the day.
Yeah, I mean, I loved your top 10 angle on it, and it was a great call there. I did not see him being the one to win the race, but I know some people got him in the Discord live at like 50-1, a couple of great hits there. So shout out to all you guys for that. And if you just took the top 10, hey, a win, top 10, it all counts the same way, whether it's first or 10th. So you like that. Speaking of being first or 10th, Rod, Zane Smith, baby. Top 10, 16-1. He was 20-1 on race day. I know a bunch of people got in on that. Our buddy Dave, Dave Heilman, who does a bunch of stuff for SGPN, he had tagged us in a tweet and he goes, I need a long shot to hit today. I responded. I was like, Zane Smith, 20-1. I was still feeling it, Rod. Oh, buddy, we had to sweat for this one, right? I was what? There's William Byron is cut. We're at my daughter's volleyball game at the end of the race. No sound. I'm sitting there with the phone on, watching. The guy next to me, he's like, what are you watching? I'm like, NASCAR race, man. 10 to go. It's coming down to the end. It's a sweat. He's like, oh, shit. I'm like, yeah. Oh, buddy, you got no idea. I'm watching Zane Smith battle for this top 10. He gets there, and then Chris Buescher's coming, and you're like, oh, come on, Chris. Just let him have the top 10. He holds on to it. Zane Smith at 16-1. We didn't have the outright in the Cup race, Rod. Did in the other series, but you don't need the outright always. It's not always just about hitting the outright. 16-1, 20-1, whatever you got this at. Great run by Zane Smith. He continues to be, and I shared a little chart that Trey Ryan, who does a lot of statistics over on the X, had shared, and it's like drivers in the last, it was like 10 or 15 races or whatever it was, like, or maybe the first half of the season compared to the second half so far or whatever, and like the difference in where they're running, right? And it's crazy because all the playoff guys are like at the bottom. Like Denny's the worst one in finishing position, right? But guys like Zane Smith are at the top. And Nico mentioned, he's like, I feel like these are the guys we've been betting on. And really it has been, because there is something to be said for, it didn't work for us with Truex, right? But something to be said for, what have you done for me lately? And as bad as Zane's season started out, they had to figure things out. It's a third Spire car, all this stuff. They figured it out, and he's been getting it done. So let's get this guy in a fucking good ride for next year, because he deserves it. He's been running really well. Another top 10 finish here. That just kind of, again, signals to me like he should be in a Cup ride this next season. Ty Dillon in a Cup ride, not Zane Smith. Again, chasing trophies, really. Is that what we're doing, Rod? But yeah, Zane Smith top 10, 16-1, 20-1, whatever you got it at. This was a good one, and I know it felt like everyone in the Discord was holding their breath those last few laps as this one cashed.
Well, because again, it was, here he was, and then here comes Buescher, and then you see him flip for a second, and then Zane Smith runs him back down, and
that's the worst when they're not showing the battle, and you see the ticker flip, and you're like, oh no, these guys are battling, and you're like, oh shit, and then you see it flips back, and you're like, oh, I didn't get around him. Okay, here we go.
Well, yeah, because you're watching like the 0.2 of a second, and then 1/10 of a second. You're like a car length, 2 car lengths. Okay, now they're on it. Now they switched, and now they're back up again. And yeah, that's the sweat. This is where you need to be watching the in-car cameras if you are on the NASCAR, because then you can watch that battle too. So if you want to do that, that's always fun to do. Switch over to the on-car cameras because they have them in every single one. If you want to sweat your 10th place bet, that's the best one.
Yeah, going back to Andrew, he had 50-1 on Chastain, also 18-1 top Chevy. Hell yeah, great call on that. That was big day if you were betting on Chastain this weekend.
Indeed. All right, we'll continue on with our bets, but first I want to tell you about Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, props. You could build your own model, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or press Build a Model for Me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. I love the fact that Derrick Henry just blew up because my predictive model for Derrick Henry's rushing yards this week just said go over whatever the number is, because whatever the number is going to be, it's just going to be over. So I got in on Derrick Henry's rushing total over, and he just obliterated it. I can't even find a word to say how badly he crushed those odds. So Rhythm helped me get there, even though it may not have needed it, but still, Rhythm helped me get there. It can help you get where you need to go too. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. We're also brought to you by BetUS. BetUS, you can bet in the business. Bet with the best in the business. BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. Easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. U.S. players are always welcome. Highlight, and we'll tell you all the bets that we like and that we gave you over the course of the weekend on BetUS. You can use our link to sign up and get 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know that we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. Welcome to my first day of ad reads, ladies and gentlemen. That was that's a crash course on how not to read ads. But we still love you, and we still love BetUS.
Yeah, it happens, Ron.
All right.
Still better than when I do it, so.
He says. All right, so for me, I had Denny Hamlin as a top 5 car at -130. I said, well, we could boost it up to a top 3 at +140. Can I just stop saying his name now? I feel like anytime you expect Denny Hamlin to do anything, he starts 8th, he finished 8th. That 11 car ran into problems. That 11 car had pit issues. That 11 car had
pit issues is that's an understatement of the year, Rod. Holy, they lost an average of 15 spots every time they pitted. I mean, Jesus, I can't wait to hear. I don't think Action's Detrimental is out yet. But,
out yet. He's still
he's
working
taking his time.
Yeah. No, the sensors are still working on beeping things out. That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
right now.
that's the bad thing about when you have to beep out your show, because there's probably a lot of beeps in that one this week. I'll be interested to hear his thoughts, but boy, they just man, and he still finished 8th somehow, which is for as bad of a day as he had. Imagine if he didn't have all of those problems. He thought he was blowing up at the end. He had all of the issues on pit road. These were not bad bets, and you lose a guy like Larson early, and you're like, that's the big guy, that's the big favorite. Man, rough.
Yeah. No, and again, there was just no chance for especially after that first pit stop where he lost. You knew it right then and there. I mean, the fact that you're right, that he battled back to even where he started in the first place is testament to how good of a driver he is. But I'll just tell you, it's, I don't know. I don't know if I have the balls anymore to just say Denny Hamlin's going to be a good car, because when you say he is, he goes out and he junks it up. And then when you're like, nah, Denny's probably not going to be good on this track, he goes out and finishes top 3.
And then it's I mean, like his finishes just haven't been. He finished decent at Bristol last week, right? And so it's like, okay, that was the first like good finish in a while, but now you go to Talladega where anything can happen. He's not really been the same guy in this next gen car that he was prior to that when he's winning 3 Daytona 500s in 4 years or whatever it was. He's only 11 points to the go. Boy, this playoff picture is getting intense going into Daga, Rod. Only 11 points to the good. Man, they got to figure, what's his plan going to be to ride around like he did at Atlanta? They asked him on the pod last week and he said no, but has that changed now? Be interesting to kind of see going forward, but they need to figure something out, or they might not even make this next round of the playoffs.
Yep, that's going to suck too. John Little saying he's the unofficial president of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast Street Team, Kansas chapter.
Kansas
I'll take it, buddy.
You are, you have been pinned as the president, so we'll take that. Tyler Reddick, top 5 plus 125, Rod. Okay, next. I don't really, I mean, it's the same thing as Bubba. Like, they just didn't have the speed, right? 2311 didn't have what you expected them to have, and I don't really know. Man, I don't even know what the problem was. And there were points where he was running good, right? And he sort of got up there, and you're like, okay, he looks decent. And then something would happen, and he'd fall back, or they'd have a slower pit stop, and he couldn't get back up there. I feel like he was top 5. I was trying to remember. Well, so he stayed. So when everybody stayed out and got the playoff points, he pitted, right? And came back out. Or no, maybe he
had to come back through again. Like there was a point where he had to come back through again too. So yeah. But it was there was nothing in those 2311 cars at all. Period.
They just weren't fast like they've been so many times at Kansas, which is just I don't know what happened. Like who flipped the switch that just shut their cars off when they've been so good for so long. And he was good at Michigan a couple of weeks ago. Roddy won. Why did that not translate a few weeks later at Kansas, which is the same fucking track on a slightly smaller scale? I don't understand. I don't know. And he wasn't fast and had a problem. Like if this was Larson, you could at least say, well, you hit a tire he blew a tire and hit the wall early. Like at least there was an excuse. There's not really an excuse with Tyler Reddick. And it sucks because I don't know.
Well, so look, he started 4th and I thought, okay, great. That's good. But he dropped like a rock as soon as the race started, finished 25th. Bubba, there was no hope for Bubba at all. I mean, he started 13th, finished 17th, and that's really where he was all day long. He was in the 20s. The fact that he even finished 17th is good, and he did not cash, by the way, the group winner, Truex, Keselowski, and Buescher. The only person he finished better than in that instance was Keselowski. Now, he was running in the top 15 for a hot minute, which was better than Buescher and Keselowski, but he was never going to be better than Martin Truex Jr., so this one just was sunk before it was over.
Yeah, Truex top Toyota. I mean, finishing in 3rd, like that just threw everything off for the whole weekend. I don't know, but again, as good as they'd been at Kansas, these like good bets, and they just didn't have it this weekend, much like they didn't in the spring. So I guess we need to shift our focus away from them next year when we come back to Kansas, and don't expect them to be good. Maybe they'll figure it back out, but I'm probably going to lay off of them. I used Bubba in one of my one and done pools this week, and that didn't do much for me, which was unfortunate. So
and done.
Yeah, exactly. The more emphasis on the done than the one. Chase Elliott, top 5 plus 250. Look, they have the issue in practice, right? The engine starts to expire. They go out and run the qualifying laps. They have the scuff tires or whatever. Has to start at the back. They have to change the entire engine. All that chaos unfolds literally right next to him on lap 2 when Jimmy and them got wiped out. You're like, oh God, that was my first. I was like, fuck, where is Chase? Like, is he done already? Because that's going to just hurt everything, right? And fights through it. Ends up 9th place on the day. Like, what a great run by them for everything that they were stacked up against. He even got stage points in stage 2. So, good for him on that. He still is only 4 points to the good. Another guy right there on the edge of the playoff run here. Fights for a 9th place finish. Should have probably looked at his top 10 on race day. I don't know if anybody ended up grabbing that and what it was, because that was probably ended up being a decent number with him starting at the back. But, if they didn't have those engine problems, he ends up in 9th. You have to figure he probably has a little bit of a better day and has a shot at a top 5. Been the most consistent finisher, best finisher throughout the season. So just how it goes. But, unfortunately, we missed out on this one as well.
Yeah, and then we also missed out on Toyota as the winning manufacturer. Christopher Bell leads 122 laps in this Toyota. The next best one after that was, I believe, Martin Truex, who only led 5. So Chevy won this race. Toyotas, they looked strong at spurts, but they did not have the strategy calls. They lost spots on their pit stops, 23-11, gacked out. There was just so much going against Toyota for this.
Yeah, Bell, I mean, looked like he had a car all day, right? I mean, obviously, when you get in clean air, sometimes it can be deceiving. I don't think he was as good when he was back there, but just unfortunately missed on Toyota winning this race. I had Tyler Reddick at plus 850. We talked about him. Elliott at 16-1. I mean, he ends up with recovering for a decent day, so it is what it is. Bubba at 21-1. Again, we talked about it. He didn't really have a chance either. Ross obviously ends up winning. He was a big number. We stayed off of Larson this week, and again, this is why we talk so much, and we really have this conversation in the Discord a lot, it seems like, but it's like, well, what about Larson this week? And it's like, he was only plus 450. Yeah, we were on him the last couple of weeks at 7-1, at 8-1. You get a good number. He ends up winning at Bristol, and it pays off. But man, when he gets to be this low number, it's so hard to take him. And because things happen and completely out of his control, they ran over something, punctured a tire, and it just ruined his day. But seems like that happens to him a lot, unfortunately. So, just how it goes. But missed out on the outrights in this race. Luckily, we had the other 2 races to cover for that.
Yes, we did. I know, poor Larson. There was 47 caution laps in this, and it feels like he had 47 pit stops. So
might add more than that.
Yeah, that's what the whole fixing that 5 car. But by the time they were done, it was not even the.
Knowing Cliff Daniels is on the radio, and he's just like, I just don't understand. We fixed everything. I don't understand how it's so fucking slow, Kyle. Like, I was like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. The thing doesn't run. Like, it's just like, oh my God, like, that's 2 of the best at their jobs, right? And they've done everything they can. And it's so fucked at that point but it's just like, heart-wrenching to hear for them, because Cliff's like, dude, I've been laying out these pit stops. We're going to stop 3 times. We're going to do exactly this on each one. Like, he had it all planned out how to fix the thing and just could not get it fixed.
That's like, I hate it when mom and dad fight. I had Denny Hamlin as the outright winner. We already talked about him. He didn't get it done. All right, let's turn our attention to the Xfinity race, the Kansas Lottery 300. I mean, we tried to tell you. Cody tried to tell you. I tried to back him up on it. That 20 car was just not going to be stopped.
Oh, yeah.
20 car wasn't stopped. I mean, he
wasn't
had
stopped, Rod.
every
That's right.
opportunity to lose that race, and he did not. So.
Oh, my goodness. We got so lucky in both this race and the truck race. Had the right call on the fastest car or truck, but almost didn't get it because of things happening, right? And it ends up where I don't even remember what the deal. Did they have a loose wheel or a tire going down? I don't remember, but they have to pit early, right? And it's just inside the window, so if we don't get a caution, it's going to end up cycling out and being fine. Luckily, we don't get a caution. It works out perfect. Even though it looks like we might get a caution as Corey Heim slows at the end, and I'm just like, please don't throw the caution. Please don't throw the caution. Please don't throw the caution. And luckily, it didn't happen. So, yeah, Eric got it done in the fastest car, Rod. Had ourselves a pretty nice day here. I had AJ Allmendinger over Riley Herbst at -110. Where did AJ finish?
Allmendinger finished in 17th.
17th, yeah. And Riley was in 10th. So, I don't know. Missed out on this one, obviously. Riley, the whole case on him was he can be inconsistent, right? And usually get boom or bust from him. You didn't really get either. Like, it was just sort of a solid top 10 day. I mean, 9th in stage 1, kind of just hung out all day, 10th at the end of the day. AJ, didn't AJ spin at one point in this race? I'm trying to remember.
He just didn't have a good day. He started in the mid-pack and stayed there.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's how it goes. Unfortunately, didn't hit this one, but this was the least of my bets, or least of my worries at the end of the day, Rob.
Yeah, no, for sure. This sweat was not a one that you needed to sweat over. However, I'll say shout out to our boy who put a massive number on this Sammy Smith over Tay Gray, -115.
Talk about lucky.
took himself a nice chunk of change home. What do you mean lucky? 45.
Lucky. Didn't Sammy wreck on like the third lap? Oh, that was the deal. AJ got in. Now I remember. AJ and Sammy got into things, and I think that damaged the front of AJ's car because he never had speed after that. But yeah, I would say there was a lot of luck involved in this bet, Rod. But hey, sometimes it's good to be lucky, and it worked out.
Yeah, so Sammy Smith gets caught up in a early accident. He spins around on the backstretch after 7 laps, and then everybody collects around. I mean, it wasn't necessarily his fault that he got spun, but he got spun. And then you think to yourself, man, well, this is over. And so you keep the race going. Sammy Smith, he just basically Kyle Larson to that car together. It was a Frankenstein number 8 by the time it was done.
Yeah, they made about 47 pit stops too. Every time they just kept coming in and trying to put more tape on it and put stuff on the back of it there and get it done. And yeah. Oof.
Yeah. So then Sammy's running around, thankfully. And then after lap 45, Taylor's engine expires and there's no more Taylor Gray down a cylinder. You could hear it in the entire when he was running. And so, yeah, Sammy continues on the track. Taylor has to park it after 45, and this one cashes. So,
and that's exactly why these teams work so hard to get those cars back out there, and why guys are so worried about staying on the lead lap because Sammy had a slow car at that point, couldn't get anything done, but that's another position. That's another point that he gains. It's a bet that he cashes. Maybe he had that head-to-head too. You never know. But it's always good when they do try and make it work, and then you get the luck of losing Taylor's engine, and that pays out nicely. Rod, Sheldon, top 5 Creed, plus 150, gets it done again. This was a bit of a sweat. He ends up in 5th place at the end of the day. And really, I don't know that he was a top 5 car a majority of the day. He was sort of hanging out in the top 10, but not necessarily the top 5. Didn't quite have the speed that he'd been having a lot of places lately, but right place at the right time. They end up working the strategy right, and he ends up there at the end and finishes in that top 5. Jadakiss says he loves him. Alpha male. There you go. Hey, plus 150 for a top 5 for Creed when he gets it done so many times. Gets it done yet again. We had some pretty good luck on the top 5s this week, Rod. What do you think?
Sure as heck did. Yeah, because guess who else finished in the top 5? One of our favorite Bet US bets of the week. Connor Zilic, top 5, plus 160. Bet US was giving the best number out on that one. And Connor Zilic Connor Zilic finishes in 4th. Finish 4th. That's not easy to say. Starts 4th, finishes 4th. Hey, that 88 car, let's tell you right now, he is going to be trouble next year. This guy has figured stuff out. He is fast.
Buddy.
There's no way. And it wasn't like this was a, he lucked himself into a top 5. No, he qualified in the top 5. He stuck around in the top 5. That guy was not going to be denied a top 5 finish. I don't even know. I can't remember a time when he wasn't in the top.
I feel like he had some sort of issue where he fell back, maybe a bad pit stop or something for a minute, but then quickly right back into the top 5. I mean, this really wasn't a sweat all day. But wait, Rod, there's more. Eric Almirola, top 5 at plus 140. We were on our ship for this race, I'll tell you that. Fastest fucking car on the day. I had consoled myself near the end there, and I'm like, well, at least we have this top 5 bet that we're going to cash, and that's going to make it all right. But of course, ends up catching Smith, catching Custer there at the end. What a battle at the end of this race too. Those last few laps, which was great. And Almirola top 5 plus 140. I told you these JGR cars were going to be fast. I told you Eric Almirola was going to be fast. I told you this 20 car was going to be fast. He was fucking fast, and he was the best car on the day, no question about it. We almost lost these bets because of the tire deal and the pit stop, but luckily racing gods were working in our favor, and he was able to go on, win the race, and cash this top 5.
Yep. Unfortunately, he cashed that at the expense of Sheldon Creed, who I said was going to be the top Toyota, because I said it's either going to be him winning this race or him finishing in second and a Chevy winning. Unfortunately, neither of those happened. So Sheldon Creed, while he had a good finish, was not better than Chandler Smith and or Eric Almirola. So did not cash this bet.
Yeah, but he was in the top 5 there at the end, which is what you're really wanting. Of course, these other guys beat him, but the number you got was pretty good. Took a couple of long shot top 5s. These didn't come home this time. Anthony Alfredo, 30-1, ends up in 15th. It's not a bad day. You'll take it. Also had Daniel Dye. He had issues very early in the race and ends up 34th. Like, just a rough day for him. He ended up spinning. Did he spin with Sammy Smith on that first wreck? I don't remember what happened, but I know he had issues early in the race and just never had a shot after that. Ended up being more of a chalky top 5, if we want to go back and use that word, even though we ended up getting, again, this is why we give out so many different top 5s, because there has to be something that happens, right? And Eric Almirola has to have a problem for Anthony Alfredo to get in there, and that almost happened. And you don't have Alfredo, or you don't have Almirola, but maybe Alfredo gets in there. Obviously, we ended up cashing 3 plus 140 or bigger top 5, so that ends up working out nicely. Wasn't a long shot day, but never fear, Rod. Talladega is looming.
Yes, it is. I skipped right over Austin Hill. I had him as a top 5 car. He finishes 7th.
This was a good bet too. 7th place.
He was there.
Right,
he was there.
Yep. If Almirola doesn't recover, right, he's there. Yeah. So this was a good bet as well. This is why you kind of separate or put your top 5s in there appropriately and have a good mixture of things. You're not going to hit all of them. Obviously, we gave out 6 top 5s. Can't all hit, Rod, but if you do it right, you hit enough of them, with a positive day, and that's what happened. I told you, Rod, Toyotas were going to be fast. I told you, winning manufacturer plus 230 was a steal of a bet. We had a sweat, right? Almirola, fastest car all day, okay. Then it's Almirola has this problem. Well, Chandler Smith is holding on. Cole Custer about ruined the party, but luckily, Almirola obviously ends up winning. Toyota winning manufacturer plus 230. Toyota's had the fastest cars on the day. Chandler was really good on the short run. Eric was really good in the long run. They sort of had both bases covered there. Cole, who I made a case against from the underdog show because he'd never finished good here, ends up with a great race as well and almost playing spoiler there. But luckily, we did cash the winning manufacturer bet at plus 230.
He was almost going to play spoiler. 48 laps in. I think he got into it with a lap car. Like he couldn't get around a lap car fast enough. And I think that's where Eric got him. I mean, Eric was going to get him anyway.
Well, I don't know. Chandler holding him up helped a lot. If Chandler didn't hold him up that much, I think that he wouldn't have caught Custer. So we definitely, it was pretty lucky there. But obviously ends up getting them. And I told you, Rod, that's all the JGR cars were over 16.5, but you didn't listen.
Nope, I didn't. But the 00 was under, and if the 00 would have hung on to win, then that would have been a cashing bet. I had winning number under 16.5, but I had a couple of particular ones that I was eyeballing, and one in particular, who I'll get to in a second. But yeah, winning car number obviously was not under 16.5 because the 20 car is over. So
yeah, I tried to tell you, tried to warn you here, but you didn't listen. Nope. I had Sheldon Creed to win 10-1, ends up in 5th place. Not bad, right? You'll take that. Sam Mayer at 14-1. Mayer won stage 2. Looked like maybe he had a fast car for a bit there. Ends up kind of falling back in the cycles and everything. Ends up 13th, so not really a chance. But Eric Almirola, 9-1. He was the headliner. I was all about this 20 car this week. That paid out very nicely, and he obviously goes on to win a very thrilling finish. And boy, this it was a nice sweet cash. Boy, talk about a sweat. I was sweating that Zane Smith on Sunday, but this race was intense in those closing laps, cheering Almirola to catch him, and that's what happened. So luckily ended up with the 9-1 out right there, which is a good day.
Yeah, and I was with you on Eric. I mean, I told you that you had taken him and Creed that I wanted, so I had to pivot. I pivoted to Brandon Jones at 16-1. All he does is park it on the pole, and I'm thinking, hey, this has got a shot.
Got some good CLV there, right?
Yep.
And then, sixth place.
Unfortunately, 6th place for him.
That's to have long shots there, like in the top 6 with a chance at the end. This race, if Corey Heim doesn't make it back to pit road, we go to overtime. Who knows what happens in overtime? And it opens up the possibilities for the Brandon Jones to win. It opens up the possibilities for the Alfredo to get up into that top 5 and all that type of stuff. So
can I just say once and for all?
No, you can't.
Okay. Let's move on to the truck race. No, I'm just single car incidents are not cautions. What in the hell are we doing? When a car taps a wall and that's it, don't throw the freaking caution flag.
What about a tire that's not on pit road compared to a tire that is on pit road, Rob?
Then don't.
Because if you'll recall, we had cars swerving around tires on pit road at Watkins Glen. Then we have a tire that's in the grass, and which is funny enough, I think it was last spring, like in 2023, we had a tire go in at Kansas, same track, go into the grass. We let the pit cycle finish before we throw a caution. Now, this ended up working out for me because it was in this race and Almirola wins, and it was all great and fine and dandy, but goodness, it just, yeah. And JDK saying every race this weekend was the hot, sweaty face emoji. Absolutely. Man, Kansas, one of the best tracks, if not the best track on the entire circuit. And another good race, Rod, was the Truck Series race.
Indeed. What time is it?
It is Ty Majeski time.
Whoa. Not so
wait.
fast, my friends.
It's hot time, baby. Let's go. Oh, man, broke out the voodoo doll. Got the Ty Majeski fuel gods on our side, Rod. Talk about a sweat. Oh, man, I had so much money invested against Ty Majeski in this race. Oh, buddy, it was, I already had a speech prepared. I was going to apologize to all of you for being wrong. And then I thought to myself, I'll apologize to absolutely nobody. Fuck Ty Majeski. This is the handicap on Ty Majeski, Rod. You can't predict that he's going to run on field with 2 laps. Why can't you, Rod? Something always happens. We're going to have this conversation about Kyle Larson this week at Talladega because something's going to happen, and it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Doesn't matter how it happens. Always fucking happens. Piano delivery shows up with 2 laps to go. Ty Majeski runs out of fuel. Corey Heim, fastest truck on the day, easily, ends up winning the race. And yeah, Rod, so we'll kick it off. Enfinger over Majeski. No sweat here at all. Majeski was beating Enfinger. How many laps were in this race, Rod?
There was, what is it?
134. I think that Majeski was beating Enfinger for 132 of 134 laps.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for us, not on the most important one. Majeski slides back to 15th. Enfinger ends up in 9th place. So did cash this bet, thankfully. And yeah, boy, it was a sweat all the way down to the end, but did cash. So we'll take it.
Yep. Ty Majeski, 51 laps. He ended up leading completely in this race. Just what you thought was going to be a dominant performance. And then, okay,
well, it wasn't
the gas tanks because
it's not because he had the best truck, though. Like, Heim was easily the best truck on the day. And we'll talk about Heim here in a few minutes. But they played the strategy and they tried to roll the dice, and it almost worked. I mean, leads 51 laps. He runs 2 laps short, right, of getting to the win. It almost fell perfectly for them, and just thankfully for us, he was a little bit short.
Indeed. Unfortunately, Enfinger was not able to beat Caden Honeycutt, who, by the way, all right, I'm going to give flowers to Caden Honeycutt. Finishes 4th.
I just saw right before we logged into the show. I was browsing the X, Rod. Honeycutt tweeted the pen emoji, so I think he's got a deal done for next year. Maybe we're gonna have some Honeycutt news out in the next day or two here. Maybe
probably just stay in that Nice truck because I guarantee you right now that's where he belongs. That's a good fast truck, and he actually ran it well. We talked about him a lot. We talk about him a lot in the DFS episodes as somebody who's a good play. This is we may be talking about him more in the betting if he continues to put together runs like this, because this was a solid day. There was at no point in time did I feel like this was going to cash, because obviously Enfinger not running. He started 19th and he was lucky enough to finish 9th because of all the craziness that happened too at the end. But for Caden Honeycutt, I mean, he was a top 5 truck the entire time. There was no point where I was like, yeah, Caden Honeycutt's not going to be a good truck. So yeah, hats off to Caden Honeycutt for a good run. You got my attention, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of getting attention, Rod, I had Taylor Gray over Lane Riggs minus 115. Taylor doesn't have a great day, ends up in 18th place anyways. But Lane Riggs, I am perfectly fine losing this. This is the Lane Riggs I thought we would see. This is the Lane Riggs I wanted. Please, please, please put him back in that 38 truck next year. Lane Riggs is going to have himself a season. Probably going to be betting on him to win the championship if he is back in that truck, because we talked about it. He's not been good on the bigger tracks. It had not been a good season. That's why we fade him, because we hadn't seen anything. But if he can put together not only the ability to win on these short tracks, but now have good runs. He was running top 5, top 3 all day long. He was right there. Ends up with a second place finish after Majeski drops out. But man, impressive run for Riggs. I'm such a fan of the kid that I'm not even sad that this head-to-head didn't cash, because I'm just more happy that maybe he's finally figured it out, and 2 wins and and a second place finish through 3 races in the playoffs. Imagine if he was a playoff driver, Rod, because wow, it's a hell of a way to start. So excited to continue to see what we get out of Lane Riggs going forward.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited as well. If I had a Matt Crafton doll like I did with Jimmy Johnson, I would
you would write it a speeding ticket.
I would. Well, oh my God, yeah, Matt Crafton. I had him as a top 5 truck. He did not have it at all. I mean, there was no point where he was going to be a top. He started 26th, ended up 25th. Strategy alone didn't. I think he put him like somewhere close.
At some point, 10. He was like, you're like, okay, he's in the top 10, but he probably wasn't going to challenge for it. Then he gets a speeding penalty, and that obviously just kind of tanks his day, unfortunately, Rod. Nick Sanchez, top 5, minus 125. Said he was going to be a fast car. Thought he was going to be a fast car. He was fast in practice, the fastest car, right? And then just sort of, I don't know, like he was 6th in both stages, so he's kind of hanging around, but ends up 12th at the end of the day. Things didn't really fall his way and all that strategy stuff at the end, but was he a top 5 truck? I don't think so, which is just, he's been so good on the mile and a half. So everything sort of pointed his direction and just, no, I really don't feel like this had, 6th place in both stages. So he's hanging around the first half of the race, right? But I never really felt comfortable about this one cashing, especially at minus 125. It was rather disappointing performance from Sanchez.
He was never able to get in the right lane on a restart as well. That was the problem. He was always falling short on the restarts, and all the faster trucks, the Majeskis, all of the Riggs, the Eckes, they were all just jumping out ahead of him. Even Honeycutt, they were just getting in front of him on the restarts, and he wasn't able. He didn't have a fast enough truck to actually pass. And honestly, Cody, there was only one caution for cause in this entire race. There was 3 cautions. 2 of them were stage breaks. So there was a lot of green flag racing.
I thought it was funny because that caution wasn't even until the 3rd stage, right?
Yeah.
So you get that far into this race. Xfinity makes it 8 laps, and the Cup Series made it 2. It's like, shouldn't this be the other way around? Shouldn't it be the Truck Series race that has a wreck on lap 2, not the Cup Series race? But these truckers kept it clean, which we sort of talked about too. Can be the case a lot more on these bigger tracks. And we really saw that play out.
Yep. And they were all behaved themselves and all did good things. And that kind of led to a lot of what we were 1 or 2 more cautions. Maybe a couple of these would have hit. Ben Rhodes, I had him as a top 3 truck, a top 5 truck as well. Ben Rhodes finishes or starts in 4th. And this was
the heartbreaking part of the fuel issue.
Oh. I don't get it. I don't get it how Ben Rhodes pits later than Ty Majeski and still does not have enough fuel.
They ran out at the same time too,
yes.
which Majeski, and I think like you could tell lap time wise, I was very heavily invested in Corey Heim, and so when that started to play out, I was watching the lap times, and I kept saying in the Discord like Heim is fucking coming. He was cutting 2, 3, 4 seconds off a lap, and I'm like, holy shit, he's just flying. And then I realized, like, I don't know that he's necessarily coming as fast as Majeski, I think, was saving until they said, okay, you can't save anymore, you got to go. And I think had Majeski had more time to save, he might have been able to save enough. Need another, was it 2 laps? It was 2 laps to go when they both ran out. So I don't know. And I don't know if Rhodes wasn't saving at all. Probably not, because he needed to go. He couldn't lose any more spots, or he wasn't going to advance to the next round. Of course, his chance at repeating the championship has ended early as he was eliminated. But he was going to probably cash his top 5 for you at the end of the day, and then sadly falls out of it.
Yep, Ben Rhodes, 133, he runs out of gas on lap 133. And then 134, Corey Heim takes the lead and obviously wins. And it's so frustrating. Ben Rhodes, he had a great start to the day too. That's what I was like. People are like, oh, Ben Rhodes, he's not really going to do well. He's been, but I said I wanted Ben Rhodes, the Superman, to pop back up again. He ends up qualifying 4th, and I was like, here we go, baby. Ben Rhodes back. He's going to do this. And I don't know what the gas tank was. They may not have packed it full enough of fuel, but yeah.
They'll be consulting Joey Logano and Scott Dixon this week to see what they can do about that, Rod. Taylor Gray, top 5 plus 240. We already sort of talked about him earlier in the head-to-head. He didn't really have it. I don't I don't really know what else to say. He was 7th in that first stage, and then he was 5th in stage 2, I guess. But
that was also more some strategy too.
Yeah, this was another one that just didn't feel like it ever really had a chance, and so
his brother was back,
his brother Tanner wins the ARCA race and then comes out and has a good truck race. But yeah, just wasn't a day for Taylor, I guess.
Yep, indeed. All right. Not a good day for Daniel Dye, the unofficial camera operator in-truck camera operator of the NASCAR Truck Series. Yeah, I mean, he got caught up in he didn't get caught up in a wreck, but he definitely was not.
But didn't he hit the wall on lap 2?
Yeah,
I mean, he was
early on.
It was very early. He was into the wall. There was no caution for that one. To your caution points there, Rod. But yeah, just you could hear Michael Waltrip's voice. He was just deflated early on in the race.
Wanted to go give his son a big hug.
And yeah, very sad
day.
He cut off the afro. What do you?
Oh, that's what it is. Man? That's what it was. He cut off the Superman. Yeah, he cut off.
You made the playoffs with the afro.
Yeah,
you don't shave the whole thing. Now you're eliminated from the playoffs, and you don't have an afro. Yeah. I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah, that's a rookie move, right there.
Yeah, rookie mistake, Rod. So unfortunate there. I had a couple long shot top 5s. Really happy with both of these and how they perform. Mosak at 7-1. He ends up going home in 10th place. So again, if we could bet top 5s or top 10s, I would love to be able to bet top 10s because, well, but again, with all the craziness kind of happening at the end, Dawson Sutton ends up coming in there for a top 5. That easily could have been Mosak putting himself in that position. Sutton does make it on fuel when those other guys didn't. So he obviously did save enough. But then Dean Thompson, top 5, 12-1. I was listening to Derek and Phil's truck show over on the NASCAR betting preview episode. And Phil goes, I got one more for you. Long shot top 5 that I like. And I'm just sitting there in my truck. I'm driving and I go, say Dean Thompson, say Dean Thompson. And he goes, Dean Thompson. And I go, yes, let's go, Phil. So I texted Phil. I always love when we end up on the same long shot together. We almost hit, was it Daniel Hemrick a couple weeks ago at Atlanta at the long shot number? And it was like, I was like, oh, yeah, here we go. 13th place. Like, again, it's a good run for being 12-1 for a top 5. Be somewhat in the area. 13th place, you're not that far off. Again, if we could get bet top 10s, you get a decent number there. I would have been on that. So, they don't cash at the end of the day, but good to know, again, you're on the right track. That's how this, Rod, is how you hit Zane Smith 16-1s. You have to find the proper way to pick and choose the guys, and it's not going to hit every time. It's 16-1, it's 12-1, it's 7-1 for a reason. But you find the guys that put themselves in the right positions to be there at the end. Was Zane Smith a top 10 car all day? No, but he found the way, put himself in the position, got that spot late, was able to hold on to it, gave us the sweat for it. But this is how you do it, right? Is you got to pick and choose your spots and who the guys are. It's not always going to hit. They're not all going to be winners. But when they do, you get a 16-1, 20-1 on Zane Smith, and it's a good day. So it's all that same thought process and strategy that goes into it, I guess.
Yes, sir. And you know what else is good? When you hit a winning car number bet or winning truck number bet, in this case, 13.5. Corey Heim drives the 11 truck. Never in doubt. Okay, maybe there was a doubt that he was going to end up winning. But yeah, listen, we said it too. It was going to be Heim, or it was going to be Sanchez, or it was going to be one of those trucks under the 13.5. I'm surprised they gave us 13.5 on this one. But they did, and we hit it. So winning truck under 13.5. Corey Heim comes through again.
Yeah, and then I gave out Ben Rhodes 30-1 long shot. We both kind of talked about him like this was their chance, and really it almost played out. Had him and Majeski been switched right there, he could have been the one. When they first started to stay out on fuel, I'm like, okay, he came in and topped off. He's got a little bit more than Majeski. We just need Majeski to run out. Rhodes is going to be there 30-1. Like, this is even better than Heim catching him and winning, right? Then it started to play out, and you're like, well, that's not going to happen. Watching Heim come, and so, but that was the other thing. Told you it was Heim time, plus 162. Again, you don't always bet Kyle Larson when he's the heavy favorite. You don't always bet Corey Heim. We didn't last couple of weeks, but this was the week. You had to get back in on him. Really good here, fast truck. And that was the case, and it still almost bit us. I mean, it came down to fuel mileage and almost lost it, but he was easily the best truck, the fastest truck, ends up starting shotgun on the field after they have an issue in practice and qualifying, all that. But it didn't matter. He was so fast, just tore through the field like a rocket ship. and then comes all the way back and runs them down. Second time that we've had Ty Majeski lose the lead with a few laps to go. Do you remember the Richmond race last year? We had Carson Hocevar. Majeski stays out on the tires. They try to run to the end, and you're just watching Hocevar, and the time, it's continues to like get closer and closer, and he's gaining all this time, and you're like, oh, he's gonna catch him, he's gonna catch him, he's gonna catch him, and then finally catches him. Majeski loses again. I don't hate Majeski. He's an easy one to pick on. So it's oh boy, Rod, it's getting late in the show, but
it is getting late in the show.
It was never in doubt. Heim time plus 162.
No, it was not. And then, like I said, I had Nick Sanchez 6.5 to 1. Look, for a 6.5 to 1 to park himself on the pole, we thought that for sure this was going to be Sanchez's time. Unfortunately, it was. Majeski parked himself on the pole. Sanchez, I'm thinking of that the Xfinity race. This other thing's got me all flustered. No, but
yeah, we might as well bring it up, Rod. It's the same message that we keep getting on Facebook, which I don't know. This time it's Alfredo Wigglesworth saying,
"It's all right. We don't need to read."
Apparently, I'm good at whatever. Anyways,
So, anyways, Nick Sanchez. We talked about him. He just could not get good restarts. He couldn't, and he just didn't run well all day. So, it wasn't his time. No, it was Heim time. It wasn't Sanchez time. But
it was Heim time, and so 2 of the 3 winners on the weekend, not bad. And it was again full weekend of exciting racing. Now we got to get one final super speedway race for the weekend or for the year, Rod.
Dega, baby.
Let's go.
Dega. All right. So we will come back tomorrow with our Cup Series picks for Talladega and the last super speedway, like we said, of the series of the season rather. And we'll have some fun picking that, spin some wheels, try to pick some long top tens and have some fun. So, all right, Cody, let's wrap up Kansas and let everybody know where they can find you in the rest of the world as we get ready for Monday Night Football too.
Yes, Monday Night Football. Go teams. Just kidding. Detroit Lions. They're like,
oh wait, no. How do we gloss over this one? My Niners thumping your Patriots.
I bet on the Niners at -10. You shouldn't be excited about that, right? I was going to bring it up last week because I was like, oh, our teams are playing. And then I'm like, yeah, but they're not really playing. I wouldn't brag about that. And Fortune sent me a message and I'm thinking, buddy, be happy we didn't Cincinnati Bengals you, all right? Because,
hey, I'm just
congratulations to your 49ers. I just saw a report right before the show, Rod. He has, McCaffrey has Achilles tendon issues in both legs.
Oh yeah,
the news keeps getting worse for that. So, sucks for RIP to McCaffrey fantasy holders out there, but that's how it goes. But yes, congratulations to your 49ers. They whipped up on our horrible Patriots. Why did we not play Drake May? Whatever.
Whatever.
The story for another day, Rod. Here we go. Anyways, okay. Yeah. Anyways, it's time to get out of here. Happy Monday, everyone. Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. See you at Talladega next week. Let's fucking go. Follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Follow the show as well at NASCAR Gambling. Back tomorrow. Cup Series picks. I know that y'all already know the commandment, but we'll cover it once again just in case you're new. And let's fucking go.
We'll break out the stone tablets for tomorrow's show. In the meantime, let's go, Saint Smith.
Thanks for letting me reuse this number 7 hat that I thought I would never use again.
Hey, here you are. Follow me on Twitter in the meantime at RJ Villagomez. Link in the about everything I've got going on. Stuff on Sportsbook Review. First touchdown props already out there. I got some other stuff coming out later on this week. And check us out on the back road on Thursday as we break down Talladega. See you tomorrow, everybody. We love you. In the meantime, let's go racing and let it ride. And as sweet as a ending, cast away on the mind.